Hi everyone, welcome back to FPL Moneyball, where we use data analysis to find the best players for your team. Today we'll be taking a look at our FPL Gameweek 6 team selection, where we answer the question on everyone's mind, should we triple captain Haaland? But before we answer that, let us take a look at the best players to target this game week. So the question we should answer is, should we all own Erling Haaland at this point? And the short answer is yes. The long answer is that the underlying statistics for Haaland continue to remain very attractive as he continues to lead the forwards in terms of expected goals per 90, scoring an average of 1.41, which is more than double the next highest player, Mateta, at 0.61. So even against a very strong Arsenal defense last game week, Haaland still managed to score a goal and score 3 bonus points for a total of 9 points, and rewarding managers who captained him despite the tough fixture that he faced last week. So the other forward that for me is nailed on and should be on everyone's teams is João Pedro from Chelsea, and he did blank last game week against Manchester United as Chelsea went down to 10 men due to a red card from Robert Sanchez. And so Pedro didn't score last game week, but his underlying statistics still continue to be very strong, with a price per million of 4.49, which is the second among the forwards behind Isidore from Sunderland. So he does continue to be very good option at nearly half the price of Haaland. So the other third forward that you should consider is either Richarlison from Spurs or Isidore from Sunderland, as they do have very encouraging fixtures going forward, and they have a very high amount of points per $1 million, which shows that they provide very good value given their price tag. For other managers looking for a differential, they could look at Gyökeres from Arsenal, although he does have a tough fixture against Newcastle away this week. Newcastle have been one of the strongest teams in the Premier League in terms of defense and have one of the lowest expected goals conceded. So it could be a rather tough match for Arsenal, and he might not return this game week, but his fixtures do improve going forward. The other options that you may consider are Bowen from West Ham, who West Ham hasn't been very good this season and they have struggled for points. However, Bowen has been the standout man, the key man for West Ham, and he does have a relatively decent price per million of 3.12, which is not too bad among the forwards, and he does look like a dangerous threat for West Ham going forward. Next, we have Ivan Nilsson from Bournemouth, who also didn't return last game week. He has been rather disappointing aside from one return this season, and it appears that he might be struggling a bit due to taking off penalties, for their duty being relinquished to Semenyo, who has been in terrific form, and he just hasn't really hit his stride in terms of the expected goals involvement per 90. He's not really getting those big chances compared to other forwards, so I would rank him below the other options at the moment. Mateta from Crystal Palace is also one that managers could be looking at, although he does have a very tough fixture against Liverpool this game week, and Crystal Palace haven't been their best of form attacking recently, with the departures of Eze to Arsenal and also losing Sarr to injury. I think they have struggled in terms of creating chances, and so even though Mateta did receive a few chances, he doesn't have the service compared to the amount of service that he had last season. The next two forward options are Foster from Burnley and Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest. Burnley have been rather sporadic this season. They have conceded a lot of goals and also scored a lot of goals, and now Foster has been involved in some of them. Although I think it is a much more risky option to go for a newly promoted side like Burnley. I would suggest for managers to actually take a longer time to assess Burnley's performance rather than going for Foster at this point, although he does have rather strong price per million statistics. Lastly, Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest really hasn't been very great this season due to the changes in terms of the manager for Nottingham Forest, and Chris Wood doesn't really fit the new playing style. So we could see Igor Jesus actually take his starting position after he scored 2 goals in the EFL game this midweek. So I think that Wood's minutes could be very risky going forward, and so I'll suggest selling him and even avoiding him at this point. Next, moving on to the midfielders, there's one standout option for me right here, and that is Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth, who is now on penalties and is a must-have for FPL managers. He has the highest price points per million at 5.32, leading the midfielders, and also has very strong expected goal involvement statistics. For Chelsea, their star man Cole Palmer is injured yet again, and this may present Enzo Fernandez, who actually has one of the highest points this season so far, to even get more opportunities going forward, given his flexibility to roam due to the Palmer injury. However, I do think there are other options that are more attractive than Enzo at this moment, and they are Grealish and Jai from Everton, who face a very kind fixture, West Ham at home this game week. West Ham have been very poor in the defense and conceded a lot of goals this season. They have been looking really very shaky, and so I think that given Everton's very strong attacking form, I think there's a lot of potential for Grealish and Jai to continue that form going forward and provide returns for managers this game week. Next will be Bruno Fernandes from Man United, who also did score I think 10 points last game week against Chelsea in a very exciting match as both sides went down to 10 men. Fernandes got a goal in that game, and he does have the highest expected goal involvement per 90 among midfielders at 0.75, also attributed from being on free kicks, set pieces, as well as penalties. And so although he's slightly more expensive than the other forwards, with the exception of Mo Salah, he does have provide managers with a lot of points potential if you do have the budget to include him in your team. Next will be Reinders from Man City, who has had a pretty mixed start to the season after his new move to Manchester City. He did start off the season with a strong performance in the first game week, getting a goal, but after that he has been relatively quiet. I do think that it will take a while for him to adjust to the Premier League, but given he has shown potential in the preseason also to go forward and make those deep runs into the opponent's penalty box, giving him quite a few opportunities to score goals and get returns this season. And so once the fixtures improve for City, I think that he has actually potential to score much more points in the coming game weeks. Next on the list will be Kudus from Spurs, who also faces very kind fixtures, and he looks more nailed on than the other Spurs assets at the moment, such as Brennan Johnson, Xavi Simons from other Spurs midfield options, but they are having a bit of a rotation risk at the moment due to injuries and other reasons, and so Kudus looks like the most nailed on Spurs midfield asset at the moment. Next will be two players from Liverpool who haven't hit their top strides, I would say, Gakpo and Salah. Gakpo has been slightly better in terms of the price per million, scoring more, providing more value than Salah, as he's only like half the price of Salah. And so he has, although they have similar expected goal involvement per 90, Gakpo has shown to be a more valuable pick than Salah due to the price tag. Lastly will be Jadon Anthony from Burnley, who has had very strong performance actually this season, although I would also again caution against going too much into Burnley assets, as they also face a very tough fixture against Manchester City and an informed defense this game week. So next, moving on to the defenders, the top players will be Senesi from Bournemouth, Calafiori and Timber from Arsenal, Livramento from Newcastle, as well as Chalobah from Chelsea. So these are the defenses that have been very good this season so far, and they also face pretty kind fixtures, with the exception of actually Arsenal and Newcastle, which play against each other. So Senesi does face a Leeds team who have only scored in 2 out of their 5 games this season, and Bournemouth have been one of the top defenses, and so the chance of keeping a clean sheet is high. Arsenal defenders Calafiori and Timber face a Newcastle team that haven't been firing on all cylinders this season after losing their star striker Isak to Liverpool, and so they do have, I would say, a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. And lastly, for Spurs, they do have potential for attacking returns, especially for Van der Ven and Pedro Porro, as they face Wolves at home, who haven't been very good defensively either this season. Lastly, taking a look at the goalkeepers, we do see that Newcastle have the lowest expected goals conceded per 90, although they do face Arsenal at home this game week. So Pope is the best goalkeeper pick at the moment, I would say. And then the next few options would be David Raya from Arsenal, Vicario, who faces Wolves at home, and would be the safe option this game week to keep a clean sheet. And following Vicario would be Jordan Pickford, who faces struggling West Ham side, although their form has improved this season as the season is going on. So now let's take a look at the watch list and the players to target. First, let's take a look at the top 5 defenses this season, and they are Newcastle, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Crystal Palace. So for me, if you're building a team, I would suggest a template team of having Nick Pope as the goalkeeper, Calafiori, Senesi, Van Dijk, and Gehi in the defense, and that would make up the back 5 for your team, a very strong defense. And taking a look at the teams to target in terms of attacking returns. So these teams have the highest expected goals conceded. So far, they are Burnley, Aston Villa, West Ham, Wolves, and Nottingham Forest. So players to target against these clubs will be Phil Foden from Manchester City, who faces Burnley at home this game week. And all these players actually don't face any of the league's top defenses, so they really have very easy fixtures in terms of potential attacking returns. The next player will be Richarlison, who faces Wolves at home, Leeds away, and then Aston Villa at home. So very kind fixtures in terms of the attacking potential. And lastly, Wilson Isidore, who faces Nottingham Forest away, Wolves, Manchester United away, and Wolves at home. Man United, of course, have not been very good defensively as well as, they've been facing defensive problems for the longest time. So now let's take a look at my game week 6 team selection. We have Vicario at home against Wolves, and I think that he does have a very good potential of a clean sheet. In defense, we have double Arsenal against Newcastle, who haven't scored a lot of goals this season, as well as Senesi against a Leeds side who has been pretty volatile and sporadic this season. I'll be rolling my transfers as I do see that the players that I have do not have very tough fixtures, especially in midfield. There are some good options there. Enzo Fernandez, who has strong potential given Cole Palmer's injury. Sabenio, who is the top player in terms of midfielder points this season. Jack Grealish against a very weak West Ham defense, as well as Bruno Fernandes, who's on penalties for Man United. Lastly, for forward options, we have Ivan Nilsson against Leeds away, and he's one that I might consider moving on from this game week after his kind fixture. And lastly, my vice captain João Pedro facing Brighton at home, as well as Haaland against Burnley at home. And I am choosing to captain Haaland, but not triple captain Haaland against Burnley at home, as I rather keep my chips in terms of a potential double game week announcement in the future. So I'm keeping my chip options for that. So that's it for the Game Week 6 team selection. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll continue posting tomorrow or later on this week with a Game Week 6 recap of the key matches and the performances of the players this game week. So stay tuned, like and subscribe, and see you next week. Bye.